Right, welcome to the channel. So, Picard, first episode, has revealed a lot, right? It's revealed a lot about the direction that they look to go in. It's revealed a lot about multiple things, you know, tonally. We've also had some big interviews from Patrick Stewart himself. And surprisingly, I see this article and I just think to myself, CBS is a total shit show. There is no reason, logically, why nothing from the original pitch made it into the show. Now, I said in my review of Star Trek Picard episode 1 that it feels, well, basically that the dialogue was terrible. And then I did a live stream and I spoke to some other people that had watched it, the Critical Drinker and people like this, and I said to them that it felt like the scripts hadn't, you know, been passed around. They hadn't been refined. And I think we have confirmation. They seem to have been working this right up to the wire. Really surprisingly. It was no small task to convince Patrick Stewart to return as Captain Jean-Luc Picard from Star Trek The Next Generation in Star Trek Picard. It took several attempts by the show's producers, Akiva Goldsman and Michael Chabon, among them, before Stewart agreed to reprise his role. Speaking to comicbook.com ahead of the show's premiere, Goldsman and Chabon revealed that nothing from those pitches made it into the series. Rather than a plan for the season, they were about showing Stewart how serious they were about trying new, exciting and different kinds of stories with the character of Picard. Now, we're going to listen to the interview, because it's here, right? We're going to listen to the interview. And we're just going to draw some conclusions. But I definitely, CBS, a total absolute shit show. Genuinely a shit show.
So first thing, I asked Alex and Heather as well, why do we need Jean-Luc Picard in the show? Why not a new character? Why not another character? Why bring him back out of retirement?
Because money. That's why. Nostalgia.
Well, I mean, there are others. There's Discovery, and there are other shows are coming down the pipe, as I'm sure you know. There's a Section 31 show coming that won't have Picard. So there are going to be a lot of shows that don't have Picard. So this is the one that does.
Terrible. Well, yeah, we know that, but why? Where's the answer? Where's the inspiration to get him back? And you see why they can't come up with anything. And the reason is literally money. They needed something to get people engaged after Star Trek Discovery. And this is telltale. To talk about other shows and just go, well, this is the one with Picard then, so that's why? Like, what? It's not an answer at all.
I think that we, you know, for Michael and I, we both are lovers of Star Trek. Our connection to Star Trek begins with we're TOS kids. We're much older than you are. And so we met Star Trek in first run syndication. My first Star Trek convention is 1976. It's all very, very sad and lovely. Certainly was sadder in those days and lovelier now. But we think that what Picard does is embody a set of principles that are pretty necessary today. The world could use somebody with the reasoned compassion of Picard. And so that was pretty delightful for us as an opportunity.
So, again, rather than approaching it from the original series and then the Next Generation series where we have this earnest utopia, which is fantastic to watch. It's so engaging and it just works. Rather than having that, they go along the approach of, well, the world's a shithole, so we're going to show the world being a shithole in the series, and we're going to give Picard the necessary plot tools to make things better. I don't see that as good motivation or engaging, because I want to disengage from everyday life when I watch a series. I don't want to watch everyday life on my series that I'm trying to disengage from.
Well, speaking of that, one of the things in the first episode that I thought was really interesting was how the power dynamics have changed. Starfleet was once this, aspirational organization, still is, but we're definitely seeing it from a different angle. Old antagonists are now more sympathetic, and there's been a lot of talk about how the Star Trek universe has changed to represent our own world. How do you see these institutions, the Romulans, the Borg, Starfleet, and what their new role is in this series?
Well, we can't say a whole lot about that, but I will say that the answer, we can't answer that question specifically, but the general answer to that question is always going to be, in some way or another, a reflection of this world that we live in now.
Overly political.
Because that's what Star Trek does and has done from the very beginning.
And it has, and it's important to say this because it has done that, but not from the perspective of the entire world is balls. It's from the perspective of this utopia. We don't need any of this. It's earnest. It's great. Humankind has overcome these struggles. And then we help aliens overcome them. That's why it was so nice. Now we're just being told we're horrible and we need Picard.
TOS forward. Star Trek has always been about the 22nd century or 24th century and the 20th century or 21st century now, always simultaneously. And so the Borg, as we will encounter them, the Romulans, as we will encounter them, Starfleet, as we encounter it, will all be true to what we've heard and what we know and what we've seen before on Star Trek about those entities, and also true to what we are all experiencing in the world that we're living in.
Rolling back a little bit, when you brought this to Patrick Stewart to see if he was interested in coming back, what was kind of the pitch, the elevator pitch, if there was such a thing, for what this show would be in your mind?
There was a really lengthy pitch that he just said no to. And then, unwilling to have gotten so close and fall so far, we all went back, put our heads together. Michael wrote a 35-page document / love letter / treatise / please come back, which was the promise of a show which both convinced him to take a flyer on us, and none of which exists in any of the material that you will have seen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a proof of concept for us more than for a particular series of season of television.
He wanted to see, I think, whether we meant it when we said, no, we don't need you to stand on the bridge of the Enterprise QFZM and say, make it so. Mm-hmm. That we too were interested in what might happen to a man of his age, a man of his century, that might reflect what was happening in ours.
So again, it's just all about the political narrative. And look, I know I've been banging on about this for a while, but I just think ultimately, look, when were you making this then? What did you, as screenwriters, how did you approach CBS and say, this is what we want to make, right? Because that's what they would have done. And then they would have got actors on board. But then you would have thrown that out and then started from scratch. This is why fundamentally the show seems like dialogue written by a 12-year-old. Or a GCSE level English literature. That's literally the level it is. It's atrocious. So, ladies and gents, buckle in, saddle up, right? That's what we're going to be getting. A political reflection of everyday life in a show designed to disengage from everyday life. Not particularly great. And again, you need any more admission, it's right there. Those are the producers. I mean, goddamn. That's a pretty big admission, isn't it? It's a shame, really. And again, I love The Next Generation. Big fan of Jean-Luc Picard as a character, but in Picard he wasn't that character, and I do think it's interesting that they even note this as trying to say, it is the same character. We need him, his sensibilities. But it's interesting as well how they go from, what was the motivation to bring him back? Why Picard? Why do we need a Picard series? They don't answer it. They can't answer it. And the reasoning that they were talking about in terms of bringing him back again, is just to do with politics rather than we want to explore him as a character. It's all about the politics and what, him being a earnest character around it would do. Shame. A true shame. This could have been something fantastic. I've just done a video on the leaks, which I'll leave linked above, so check that out. Please do give this video a like and a share. YouTube is currently sandboxing my channel. It's not recommending my videos to anyone on like other people's videos and stuff, which is a huge draw for traffic. So my channel's basically being screwed. So please do share it on various social medias. It would mean the world to me, genuinely. And as a result of that, obviously, if you want to support the channel further, because of this sandboxing thing, I've got Patreon link down below. We're doing a Skype hangout tonight for $10 or more patrons, so please do join in. These things happen twice a month normally for $10 or more patrons. But anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. I've been Mr. H. Take care.